All right, moving on. Next email is from Edward Gosling. Ryan's lesser-known brother. Maybe this is Ryan Gosling's dad, Ed.
Yeah,
Sure. That's who it
Uncle?
is. He says, "Hi, Game Scoopers. New listener, first-time emailer.
Ooh.
My suggestion for a topic is the underappreciation for the sports game genre. I've been a long-time player of sports games on consoles since I started playing games, from the standard FIFA football games to Madden, NHL, and NBA Sims, not to mention Wii Sports. To my point, a lot of these titles sell extremely well and have a huge audience, as well as tremendous replay and multiplayer value, and are great for bringing non-gamers into the gaming world. Their ability to simulate the real-life sport is constantly improving, but I feel like they are looked down on by critics and hardcore gamers in general, despite their success. Do you think the sports genre deserves more respect?"
Yes, I do. I think that it's respected in the marketplace, and I think critics have, I don't think that they are anti-sport game.
Yeah, I think they review incredibly well, actually.
Yeah, but I do think that the people that I work with, speaking in very broad terms, are not broad sports game players. There are people that may focus on one particular sport that happens to coincide with the sport they follow in real life, but a lot of us don't spend a lot of time on sports games. We know experts who do, we hire those experts, we work with those experts, and there are some people in-house that enjoy those things.
Yeah.
But there aren't as many as there are for what we might call that AAA center of the conversation in fantasy, science fiction, and role-playing games. I think that those worlds really do resonate a little better with the people who work in this part of the industry. So yes, I do think that they are probably given a different kind of attention, not because we're some kind of snoots or snobs, but because
Snoots or snobs?
I think it's more because sports games have centered so squarely on simulation in the last 10, 15 years. And I don't play video games for realistic realizations of things that I can kind of do or experience in real life.
I like that Mario Baseball, though.
Yeah, like stuff like that's really great. Like actually, one of my favorite games of all time is Blades of Steel. Because it's just really fun, and like when you get into fight mini games, it's like Street Fighter. I loved Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey on the N64 because it's just goofy. Like hockey in general, to me, feels more like video gamey because it's a giant level with two mini bosses on the top and bottom that are guarding the flagpoles.
If they're the mini bosses, who's the main boss?
Yeah,
I never thought of that.
Who's the hockey?
The Stanley Cup.
But you do have, I think you raised a great point. You have things like Tecmo Super Bowl or Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, which is effectively a rhythm game.
Yeah,
puzzle game.
Disguised as a boxing game, or a puzzle game disguised as a boxing game. Or Mutant League Football, or a number of other, Base Wars.
Blood Bowl.
But again, we're all
Or
talking
NFL
about
Blitz
neat
or
takes.
whatever.
We're talking about things you can't do in real life and changing them. And I do think that one of the reasons that sports is not as popular maybe in this office and some others is because it is not viewed as an escapist thing. You mentioned simulation. We are largely an escapist medium, and I understand that. Simulation doesn't feel escapist, at least not to me.
I have a little bit different take on it. I used to, if you go back into the Scoop archives, I'm sure I've talked about this before, the way that I used to play sports games is I would buy one every, 3 or 5 years. Like, I'm not the world's biggest American football fan, but I would buy Madden, and play it, and that would be it for like 3 years, and then maybe I would buy Madden again. I would do that with FIFA as well, and I eventually had to stop because those games, they build on themselves in such a way that, like, man, if you look at like the controller in FIFA, like what you need to do, like every button has like 4 or 5 functions depending on which trigger you hold down. And like it's easy to see how they got in this situation because every year has to have a new thing. And they're like, look, now when you press the right stick, you can do ball jukes and stuff. And now when you push the left stick, you can stick arm people and like they stiff arm people. And they add, like, it's one little thing every year, and by the time it's 5 or 6 years, it's incomprehensible. And there's a million modes. And do you want to be the manager or the coach? Or
I
the
think
player?
there's a lot of legitimacy to what you're saying there, Justin. But I've also heard exactly the same arguments made, say, about first-person shooters.
I mean, Call of Duty absolutely has that problem. I
it's the
played
same
Black
thing.
Ops 3 after not playing a Call of Duty since Black Ops 2, and I didn't understand what the fuck I was doing.
Yeah,
And like that's why I can't play. Like I bought FIFA South Africa whenever the South Africa World Cup was. I bought that one, and I'm like, I don't even know like how to play the game. Like which of these menu options is for me? Like, and for some people, that's like such a wealth of content that if you buy FIFA every year, it's dope as hell. But like,
it's like the same reason I don't play Gran Turismo or Forza, but I will play Mario Kart. You know, like I want something that not necessarily is simplified, but something that's just a little quicker to get into. I know there's like quick play matches and stuff like that in all these sports games, but a lot of it gets into it feels almost like too human to me. Like it's just like I get
the game
there
too human.
Not that God by Silicon Knights. No, but like showing up and all of a sudden I'm playing an NBA basketball game and everyone in the game is a real human being and they're playing like just like some rap album I might have on Spotify and there's no escapism to it. Like it's just the menus are emulating Sports Center.
Well, you're also, if you're like a basketball fan, you're also spending a lot of your time just watching real basketball.
Yeah.
So you're not escaping that.
Exactly. And then you're trying to match your team to real life trades and stuff like that.
But for sports fans, a lot of sports are escapism. I've been playing in the same fantasy football league for over a decade now, and it is an escapist nature. It's a meta game within a game, and for a lot of people just watching that sport, that is the way they get out, following it, whether it be, in baseball, a lot of people just follow stats, and it's a way to get away from their lives and focus on something else, the same way we use games. And I can say that every time in the last few years I've made an effort to get back into something, for example, Forza or The Show or Madden, it's been worth the effort. That curve has been high because the game's become complex, but if I stay involved with other people who are playing at the same time, and that's been the key, people that can say, hey, here's what you're doing wrong, hey, here's what's changed in Forza, then it has proved worth it, and I've had a great time after that initial couple hours frustration.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like, I totally agree with that. I'm not denouncing why they exist or who they service.
I don't think you are.
But I specifically can say like when it comes to video games as a medium, like I would rather, it's the same reason I'd rather watch movies than documentaries. Documentaries are interesting and they're fascinating, but it's just like, oh, this is the thing that's actually happening in real life. That's cool.
It's really depressing. Well,
it's also really depressing. Yeah.
Back to Hyperlight Drifters.
Exactly.
And there's something else here we haven't talked about at all, and that's the fact that the coverage of sports games has not just narrowed stylistically from things that were a little less realistic, like Blades of Steel or Punch-Out, but it's also narrowed in the marketing and the franchising, and finally who owns the important properties.
Well, that's the thing. EA monopolized the conversation.
Exactly, and that's frustrating. There's no more competition out there, which means they are only pushing themselves, and that is a squish, I believe, on innovation, and that frustrates me. There's not a lot of variety out there in major sports games anymore.
We started the show talking about 4 different first-person shooters and how they're taking to places. Some have mechs, some have jetpacks and Sarlacc pits.
Yeah.
Some are taking place in the far future. One might take place in the past. That's a fascinating conversation, but looking at sports games, it's just sort of like, oh, EA renewed the Madden franchise again for another 10 years. There's not really much to say there.
It's an old man scoop moment here, but I mean, there once upon a time, young'uns who are watching, you could play multiple franchises based on the NFL.
Yeah.
They were all different.
Was dope.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
But I loved ice hockey on the NES because you had to pick between fat, medium, and skinny characters, and that was your strategy.
Much like reality.
It's the weird thing, I'm not a sports fan, so that's the main reason why I don't play sports games today. But as a kid, I would play any sports game.
Yeah.
I'd play RBI baseball.
Yeah.
I'd play Kings of the Beach for volleyball. I'd play Tecmo Bowl, NES play action football. I would play any sports game.
Well, I think they were just goofier and a little more fun and a little less rigid and serious. And now they're so much more based on simulation and reality.
Yeah, they were arcade inspired. I mean, games were still moving from the arcade into the living room. Having the arcade experience in your home, that was the ultimate game. And those games made concessions for the fact they were home games because you could play all 9 innings or all 60 minutes, but they still played like arcade games. Nobody ever has gotten it more right than Tecmo Super Bowl. It exists at the perfect nexus of accessibility and simulation, and I just want it to happen again.
What was that robot football game in arcades?
Robot football game? What's
it's
it? That
top down. Might it be an Atari game?
There's Pigskin, there's Mutant League, there's
I
know the one you're talking about.
that robot baseball game.
No, it's top down and it's like vertical, right?
Yeah.
I do not remember the name of that thing, but I know the game you're talking about.
I'm gonna look up. No, I want one of the listeners or viewers to let me know.
Hopefully it's not the answer to 20 questions.